Welcome to another episode of Behind the Strategy, a place for conversations, a place to find out and reveal all. What is behind your strategy? So, I am really excited to be here with Ari Scott, and the reason is because we have so much in common, we have so much to say, and I'm sort of seeing this as a competition by the end as to who can get the most words in. Welcome, Ari.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kate. And I'm confident in winning that conversation. To be
It's like, you know what? I said a minute ago, this us folk here, like this could go any way. Like I really do think, folks, that you probably need to strap yourself in, buckle up, whatever. I don't know. Just listen. I can guarantee you this: no ADHDers will be harmed in the making of this podcast. All right, but should you, I can't guarantee listeners, should you, anything happen to you, we are not held liable. That's all I'm saying.
It's a legal disclaimer pre us even saying anything. Yeah. Is that a concern or is that positive? I think it just sets the scene for an exciting conversation.
It does, and it also sets the scene for business because before we start, I just want to say that Ari and I met in Clubhouse in 2020. And we did tons of things. We did a 24-hour ADHD-a-thon and we did all sorts of things. And the funniest thing is that even though Ari is half my age, we discovered that we both lived and went to school in the same tiny village that no one's ever heard of, except I was obviously a couple of decades ahead of her. And apparently, it was still shit, wasn't it?
Look, I can't comment, but also, yes. Yes, 100% yes. Although, maybe we're biased because ADHD and school don't tend to go well together anyway. So I don't know. I don't know whether the schooling system is the problem or whether having ADHD in the schooling system is a problem, never the problem, just for the record. I think it's the first one though, secretly.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, that actually makes me think. So one of the reasons, let's just talk about that for a minute, because one of the reasons about having these conversations is about talking about how we have like a code for navigating through life, core values, morals, belief, whatever you want to call them, right? And I look back on my school years and went through the same issues as other people, but I think underneath it all, I had such a hardcore sense of fairness and justice, and school was not the place for that. And I think that when I look back, I think that was one of my... I'll tell you a funny story, right? So when I was 5, I was sent to a convent. I probably wasn't sent there. I think I just was there.
That's so unexpected.
Yeah, I was sent to a convent. Anyway, so at the end of the day, right, the nuns would let the first person out of the gate to meet the parents was the person with the shiniest shoes.
Right.
So I can be bothered about that. Would you have been bothered about that?
Yeah, I'm so competitive that yes, but it would be an equal playing. But yeah, I don't know, it'd be difficult for me to deal with. It would be like I'd have like what's the word? Cognitive dissonance in that situation. Yeah, because I'd want to win, but also that's completely unfair.
Yeah, and this, ladies and gentlemen, and gender neutrals and anyone who's listening, please, whatever, I would just like to announce this was my first introduction to corruption.
All right, what happened then? Did you kick off? Like, what was the? Because I'm guessing you either just refused to show on your shoes or you just ran out the door. What happened?
I couldn't be bothered. It was just like, do you know what? Trying to keep your shoes clean all day. I can't have fun. They're going to get dusty. I'm really not bothered.
Oh, was it all day?
Yeah, no, by the end of the day, you had to have the shiniest shoes.
Oh, no, yeah, I've not won that. No way.
So I'm like, do you know what? That does not fit into my version of having fun, right? So I didn't bother, didn't take part, until the day I decided I would, because I knew damn well I would win. If I was
See, I know it. Oh.
Anyway, I had the shiniest shoes, and when we got to the gate, the nun picked her favourite, who didn't have shiny, who had dust on the shoes. She went out first, and I was introduced to corruption at the highest level. And that's when I realised the world was not meant for me.
And I've never shined my shoes a day since.
Oh, actually happened.
Yeah, I bet. That is, that's screwed up though, to be fair. What did you do? What was your response to that?
Sister Susan, because I remembered her name.
Susan.
I'm not traumatized by it at all to have remembered her name.
I've let it go.
Yeah, Sister Susan. I think I have the shiniest shoes, and then she told me I didn't in no uncertain terms. But she didn't just tell me in English. She decided to tell me in French, which was great because she was the French teacher, and so she knew that I probably wouldn't have understood half of it. But we have ADHD. We can learn stuff really quickly. We get the gist. Yeah, we're really good at reading the room, or we're not.
Yeah, there's no in between. Also, Sister Susan, if you're listening, I hope you're feeling bad. I hope this finds you somewhere and you reflect on your behaviours. And I hope you remember this because you became a significant moment.
I know.
Terrible.
It went downhill from there on.
Yeah.
But it is but that does lead into my core value. I have core value. If we just talk about core values in general, honesty to me is core. It has to be. No, I'm not saying that. I won't tell you that your bum looks big if it does or anything like that, because I'll gauge it and weigh it up. If I really do think that you're going to feel silly at the end of the night, maybe I will tell you that and then risk slap. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And these things are important, aren't they? But when it comes to being people trusting me and knowing me to be honest, that they will, that to me is a highest honour. I find that mind blowing. Not I shouldn't, because I've been honest, but it's, I think, mind blowing the fact that not everyone is out there, and I don't know. I think it's just a damn shame, to put it mildly.
Well, I have some deep thoughts on this one. We don't live in the Western world, for the very least. I can't speak for the rest of the world, obviously, because I'm just too ignorant on it. But we live and we're raised and kind of systemically indoctrinated by a culture that doesn't promote honesty. Because, first of all, you can't really, in capitalism in general, doesn't really benefit from honesty,
It's amazing, really. No, it is honest.
Well, yeah, and it's so funny for me. Obviously, so I love business. but I love the concept of business in the fact that some people love football. So I love business, right? I love it as an entity. But I hate capitalism, which is a real juxtaposition for me. It's kind of like loving football, but hating the World Cup. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But I think that. And, especially being English, and I see it in Australia too, but it's a little bit different. I think that we're taught to not rock the boat. and not rocking the boat is usually, well, not usually, but often requires that we're not 100% honest and authentic, or whatever word kind of you want to use for it. And I think as people with ADHD, and especially kids with ADHD, because you can't control the impulse, that's what God now anyway, but it's way worse then. I think that that's a massive struggle for us because, as you said, we've got this kind of, in my experience, every ADHD person I've met has got this. But last time I said ADHD people, the LinkedIn police came after me to tell me I couldn't speak for all ADHD people. So, they didn't make that sound, but I wish they did. So, in my experience, all the ADHD people that I have met, which is thousands, have that, they have. Exactly, we have that inbuilt, deep, intrinsic moral compass that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that it just doesn't align. It doesn't work with the world, how the world functions for us in the Western world. And I think it's one of the hardest parts about having ADHD, in my experience, for that reason. Unfairness is just grinds our gears.
And you know what? What's even worse than that is that when we choose not to be, we know we've made that choice. We haven't done it by accident.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah. You know who doesn't have ADHD? His sister Susan. She knew she made that choice. She doesn't care.
how come is it that other people can just, it's just the belief system they've just stepped into. I mean, whether they're in denial, whether it's, been indoctrinated into them for whatever reason. This is how it is. This is, why cultures are different, why families are different. You take all that on board. But for me, having that moral compass means that I know when I am not, and I am choosing to ignore it, and I will accept the consequences. It's very much a choice. I had a conversation today, and I was actually asked today, someone said, how do you live being so honest? And I went, honestly, it's just so much easier. And then can't you tell, like, the white lies or something, let's say you're chatting to someone, you go, oh, actually, I think I need to go now. I need to get some shopping because you find them boring. And I went, well, there's a difference between, I'm not going to hurt somebody's feelings unnecessarily. If I didn't like them in the first place, I wouldn't have stopped to talk to them. So there is that, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm off and away and I'm busy. Like, but if I've actually stopped to talk and then I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I forgot you were really boring. Right.
Well, let me ask you this though.
I hasn't thought that.
I'm gonna test you on that though, because so somebody told me this, and they said they read it somewhere, which probably means they got it from TikTok. So I'm not claiming this to be actual data. But they told me that on average humans lie 20 times a day, right? And I can see that. And the reason I'm going to test you on that, Kate, is because you're English. So I can get you on this, I think. I can get you on this. So how many times in your life when someone says, in passing, that person you run into, hey, Kate, how have you been? Even in a state of absolute chaotic carnage, like in a nightmare of storms in your life, have you gone, yeah, not bad. Yeah, I'm fine. And that's the little lies that we tell every day, right? Which I think is really interesting. But I think it's so fascinating because we just tell those ones for an easy life. Like, I'm actually having a shit show of a time, but you're the last person I want to speak to it about. It's just like, we can't say that, can we? That's maybe too on it. So it isn't. So I guess like with people, like a lot of that dishonesty, again, like culturally, is just that kind of at scale. And that's what I mean. Like and like especially English people, we are just like, stiff upper lip, like, don't feel anything. That's why we're so funny. That's why English people are so funny, because we're not allowed to have emotions. So we started making jokes about how we feel as a coping mechanism, and now here we are.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's right. I've always... when I carried on the rest of the conversation to the person who asked me, how do I do it, be honest? And I said, well, actually, it boils back down to constantly being misunderstood, right? And there was two reasons for that. One is the way I might have explained it would have been like, whoa, hang on a minute, you just explained the whole dictionary. I didn't get a word of that. It's like, or I can't explain it. So she said to me, how do you do this thing? And I said, I can't tell you my step-by-step process. I said, because I can't articulate it. I can't see it. I said, because I'm seeing a million steps. I can't explain it. This is where I get that overwhelm from.
Right? That's what I said. Some of my clients.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fairly typical. Whereas if you want me to show you how to do it, I will better teach it to you properly in a step-by-step, very simple, easy way. It's different if I'm trying to just tell you I can't see the things in the same way. And so I said, because of that, quite often people have thought, if I said, oh, I can't really explain it, I've been accused when I was younger, oh, you just don't want to tell me, or you're not giving me the information. It's like, no, there's that misunderstanding again. It's not that I'm not trying to be honest. It's just that I'm just not. You know what I mean?
I honestly think one of the most challenging parts of having ADHD is constantly being misunderstood and seen as like not being truthful in that. Like, when we're, especially if you grew up undiagnosed, like trying to explain why you haven't done the thing, or like, you know, especially the thing you said you would do. So with ADHD, it's so challenging because when we say we're going to do whatever the thing is, like, you know, when you're a kid, like, but I do laundry, make the bed, whatever. We believe it in that moment wholeheartedly. We believe it. We're like, I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah, looking forward to it, bud. And then it comes to doing it, and like for whatever reason, you know, executive dysfunction, task paralysis, a myriad of reasons why. And then we don't do it.
Sometimes, doesn't it? You know.
But I think it's really heartbreaking for us because I think we're in this like constant juxtaposition of I really want to do this thing, but I can't, and I don't want you to see me as somebody who says that they will when they won't because I want to. And I think, I don't know. But interestingly, so me and my fiance, so she has ADHD as well, and we do relationship check-ins. We talk about our relationship a lot, obviously, because if you're in a relationship and you don't do check-ins, you probably should. It's honestly a game changer. But my favorite thing I realized recently when we were having a conversation about it, and why our relationship is so good, is as simple as the benefit of the doubt. We constantly give each other the benefit of the doubt. So if one of us says, you know, I always come back to laundry just because laundry is evil, but you know, it's like, oh, I said I'm going to do this, and then it was just as simple as like I couldn't. There's just too many obstacles, and it's like, okay, fair enough. I get it. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. That sounds like a tomorrow problem, but like, and I think that it's, you know, obviously that's not necessarily functional in every aspect of life, especially professionally. Yeah. But I think a really good lesson from it professionally is internal, and I think it's about giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. And when I very first started in the ADHD world, I think it was might have been my first post or my second post anyway on Instagram, was that there's basically 3 sort of core keys to success as an entrepreneur with ADHD. The first is self-awareness, and the second is self-forgiveness. And that's what self-forgiveness is. It's giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. But the biggest challenge with self-forgiveness and having ADHD is in forgiving ourselves where others will not forgive us because they don't understand the reason why and that benefit of the doubt. And I think that is, first of all, stop doing like years and years of trauma. So it's really difficult to do. But it's so key. It's so vital. And it's like a really good example of it is, let's say it's your best mate's birthday and you show up an hour late because you got the time wrong, right? You piece of shit. No, I'm joking. But like, let's say you do that and you know that there was no malice in that, right? You weren't late because you don't care. You weren't late because it wasn't important to you. None of those things above. But you were still late, right? So you obviously take accountability, apologise, and maybe accept the fact that, you know, they're going to be a bit pissed off with you for a while, which is fair because, you know, you're still an hour late. But that self-forgiveness is like giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. So it's like internalising the benefit of the doubt. I did not do this on purpose. I can forgive myself for it. And that disconnect between ADHD, as I find, and myself included in this, and this is something I still have to work on every single day, is judging how we view ourselves solely by the eyes of others, which is a massive injustice to ourselves. Yeah. Because they will never understand what goes on inside of your brain. And I think that's like all of that kind of just connects in terms of that justice. Because like I said, it's the constant like juxtaposition of feelings and actions and ethics and values.
Yeah. And you're, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, the fear of being judged. You know, you made a great post about it. And actually, well, we have a right. It's okay to be fear of being judged because we have been all the time, way more. We hear more judgments. You know, I've had to create myself my own hashtag for self-forgiveness and self-awareness. And it, you know, I just go, oh, I've almost made it my little catchphrase because it has a jingle and it's fun and it's quirky. It works for my brain as well because then I start, you know, because we have to gamify everything. So I just go, the eye roll. Yeah. Do that. Not your fault. And that's it. Like, yeah, okay. You know, you're making yourself, you know, gamify, tag that. If that's something like that, it's the only way because one of my coping mechanisms is ridiculizing everything.
Ridiculizing sounds like a Harry Potter spell, but yeah, go on. ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. But
Speaking of judgment, actually, total side note, if you're worried about judgment and Harry Potter, I had a reel on Instagram do really well recently. And every time they do well, somebody insults me. Someone was like, yeah, but you look like Draco Malfoy. And I was like, burn. You're worried about fear of judgment. I'm like, I'm getting so many compliments on the internet. But yeah,
yeah.
I do look like Draco Malfoy though, so it's fair. I'm not even annoyed.
It was complete.
I'm like, fair observation. Please leave me alone. My feelings are hurt.
Well, they said I got told that I looked like that gardener on the TV.
Did you get that publicly on the internet though? Because first of all, I'm better looking than Draco Malfoy, so like, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Oops.
Lesbian 14-year-old boy, Draco Malfoy. That's me on the internet. It's funny.
Yeah. Oh, God. Now I just got compared to the woman who did that gardening with the hair like mine, who wandered around on some gardening show with big boobs. So, thanks.
That big boob.
Yeah, just not anymore. But there you go.
I literally never get to compared to anyone who even has boobs, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. But the thing is though, that's actually, I mean, taking that as for what it is, right? We automatically see things that we are familiar with, right? And we do that online, we do that with ourselves. We obviously feel more comfortable with things that we feel more familiar with. Why we sometimes feel the need to then point that out to other people, it's beyond me. It's like, okay, well, that was a really interesting. Thank you for sharing. You know,
actually, don't mind. Keep trolling me. It boosts my engagement.
Well, this is the whole thing, you know. People time about that, isn't it? And actually, that is another fear of showing up, isn't it? People, fear of judgment, fear of conflict. Don't want to have to keep justifying explaining myself. I was explaining to somebody today about how when somebody, you can tell the difference. Not everybody can tell the difference. Actually, I retract that. I think you have to. I know you could tell the difference, and hopefully after this, other people might be able to. Somebody makes a post, and it's quite an opinionated post, and that's absolutely fine, okay? And then you think, oh, actually, I disagree with that, but you like the person. You think, okay. So you have a look down at the comments, and then you think, I'm not going to comment my thoughts, because I can see that you've not posted this to invite conversation. You've posted this to just have for validation. And then anything opposite, or you can see it's so defensive. And there's still people trying and they don't get it. And I don't. I just won't, because I don't have the time for that.
I was going to say, I don't even have time to comment on people's posts anyway. So I just let people get on with it. I think, I don't know.
Other people showing up is what I mean, is because people are taking on board exactly what you said. If you've got the core value of you must always look good, you must always present yourself, stiff upper lip, or whatever it is, you don't want to appear, you've got to have people that know, like, and trust you, you've got to do this, that, and the other. It impacts how we show up, whatever we do, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to put on yourself to get it right every day. I don't get it right every day, that's for sure. And I think that, like, it's a funny thing with fear of judgment, because it's problematic. It's problematic because it's completely valid. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're going to post online, you are going to get judged. Like, it's just going to happen. It happens time and time again. And, like, because, like, people suck. A lot of people suck. They suck. And especially, usually what fuels the urge to make, judgmental comments or horrible comments or whatever, it's just jealousy. And I don't see any other motivation other than, whatever, unless it's something you feel passionately about. But there's also a way to approach that where you don't, where you're just not, to be frank, being a dick. But
yeah, that's thankfully.
But at the same time, the problem with fear of judgment is that success doesn't care about it. So, with content and showing up online, if you want a business, you have to show up online. Yeah, I'm sorry. And it's really hard to, on the one hand, it's really important to be, especially for me with my clients, and I am, it's really important to be empathetic about that, because it's a very real fear and it comes from a very real place, and it is a massive amount of stuff that goes into creating that fear, especially for ADHDs, but for anyone, to be honest. But on the other side of that, and this is sometimes where I get like told that I'm quite direct in my, I guess, style of myself on the internet, is like, that it is what it is. That's all it comes down to. Like, yes, you're going to get judged, but also if you want a successful business, post on social media and do it brazenly, because that's the only option. And if somebody comments like some kind of, if you're still in a place where, like when I get those comments, for the most part, apart from one comment that lives in my head rent free that I'll talk about afterwards, that was a couple of years ago. But for the most part, if I get comments online that are judgmental or cruel or mean, and I get like, now my account is bigger, I get people accusing me of exploiting the ADHD community, which is so funny if you know me, because especially Kate's known me since the beginning. Like the biggest advocate in the world, like the biggest love. But regardless, and they, sometimes they're difficult. But just think to yourself two things. First of all, like, it's just kind of tragic that people even have the time and the energy to want to input into this. So like already you're on an energetic level that supersedes anything that like they will ever experience. Yeah. And second of all, like, just don't reply. Who cares? Delete the comment. It doesn't need to live there.
Conversation means a back and forth between more than one person, unless obviously you're talking to yourself, and in which case that is not relevant to this part of the conversation, because that's not what's happening on social media, is it?
Unless you want to be really sadistic, and then you can like leave it there and see how many people like it, and then you'll know how true it is. No, don't do that. Oh my god, 10,000 likes.
Whoa, let's just do this. But so how? Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, right? What if fear of the typical things people are afraid of when they show up online? Superficial things, which we say I say the word it's superficial, but actually it's not. It might not be, and so I don't want to offend anybody saying this, because how we look, how we look is a big thing, because the whole of society, like you say, capitalism, everything it is based on women and that sort of stuff. Exactly, right? And secondly, we say the word, I don't want to look silly, and we don't want to sound silly. And actually, when I think my core values, I value more. We've mentioned that mine is honesty, and please note, listeners, that Ari hasn't even volunteered hers yet because she don't have none.
Wait, my core values.
Yeah, just teasing. Yeah. So is
I don't have any. I just wrote.
No, she winging it.
No, I definitely have core values, but I actually go on, because I have a confession to make. Read what you're about to say after. So
yeah, okay, yeah, nice one. So I value knowledge. I don't want to sound silly. I don't want to, and so anything that could be judged on my intelligence, I take umbrage because I value that knowledge. I don't really have to know everything, but obviously, as an ADHD, I do need to know everything. And until I realise that actually, I'm bored now, I'll move on to something else. But it's intelligence, looks to a certain point, although not as much as perhaps when I was younger. But I don't. But I can't think of, for me, I will just either do it or not. I'm not showing up because it just hasn't fit into the day. So, which begs the question of the typical traditional people say, my favourite one is the Eisenhower matrix, where they say you have to put everything into, priority or urgency. It's like, have you met me?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
How do I do that? Because my brain sees urgency and priority as the same thing, and in accordance to how much dopamine I need, for goodness sake.
Afraid. Yeah, that's definitely a problem on that one. But it's funny because I was actually talking someone the other day, and I realized that authenticity is something that's really important to me. And also, I guess, like on the realm of intelligence, I realized that until very recently, and still probably continuing in my content, I was hiding behind my knowledge and intelligence. And the reason for that was, like I said, so I look younger than I am. Also, as like literally look like a small boy. Like I'm in my 30s, right?
You know that guy off of what was that kid out of Harry Potter?
Was that you? It was you on a troll account, was it? You wrote that comment, Kate. I know it. I knew it. But no, like what I realised was that I was looking back through all my content, and barring it back when I had to dance on the internet to make content that went viral. So also, if you're scared of judgment and you're starting now, just be thankful that you don't have to do that anymore, because no one does that anymore. So it's a different time. It's a different world. Dancing on the internet. But anyway, even so,
for the days
when I was talking, so great. But when I was talking to talking to the camera or anything like that, I was hiding behind, like I wasn't letting my personality out, because at the end of the day, I am a business I'm business coach, business consultant, strategist, whatever the hell you want to call me. I don't really care. But the point is because I look young, because I'm, believe it or not, a woman, because I have tattoos and all of that sort of thing. There is a certain line of judgment on the internet that exists that is like a first impression thing, especially for women. So Alex Hormozy, I love Alex Hormozy, by the way. So like no shade on Alex Hormozy. The man turns up in a singlet and a baseball cap on the internet.
I know. It's like,
because he's a man, he can do that, right?
Yeah.
And I hate that. I'm not here to say like my life's harder because I'm a woman, even though it is. But
yeah,
that's not my argument here. My argument here is if I had shown up at the start of, maybe I could get away with it now. I'm very funny and charming, but at the very start, in a baseball cap and a singlet, and had let my whole personality like come full force on the internet, I wouldn't have the success that I have now. And I know that for a fact, and that's the problem. So the issue is at a certain point, you have to take judgment into account. And that's a really hard pill to swallow for ADHDs, because we're like, and this is only if you want business success, by the way, or marketing success. Otherwise, don't worry about it, do you? Yeah. But the truth of the matter that I found is showing up. I don't think anyone shows up 100% authentically online. I just don't. I don't buy it anymore. And I used to think that they did, apart from people who don't have a business that depends on it. If you're an influencer, it's different because you're influencing. But ask those influencers if you took away their brand deals, if they could sell a product. The answer is no. Because at the end of the day, you need to be an authority. And to show up as an authority, you have to present as an authority. And early days, it's different now. I can be a lot more silly online now, other than the dancing early days. But, we're living with that. But the point is like now, because I have authority. But if I and that's taken, 2 years on Instagram, a year on Clubhouse, like, every day I've been doing this, every single day. And I've earned the right to be a bit more silly, it turns out. Way. But the reality is, and the thing that we really struggle with is ADHD is kind of, again, that contradictory juxtaposition. On the one hand, we want to show up completely authentically and be ourselves. And we know deep down that at least to some level we can't. Right? And that's difficult for us. Yeah. Then, on the other hand, we're so terrified to show up in any way authentically and see who we are anyway, that both of these things are kind of clashing in this weird parallel. And it just creates paralysis, and it stops people posting online. It's like, I want to be myself, but I can't be myself, but I can't be myself, but I want to be myself. It's really weird, two sides of the same coin. And I'm not saying, obviously, hide your personality completely. I'm just being honest. If I had not hidden, for lack of a better word, behind the knowledge that I had and what I was talking about, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
So basically, you released yourself to the community in small doses.
Not on Clubhouse, though. On Clubhouse, it was
community, but we can only do her a bit at a time, because let's face it, folks, we're all too much. It's not
even about being too much, though. It's just about it's just business. It just is the nature of business. Like I said, you can show up online 100% authentically, and you can even build a massive following. And I'm sure there's exceptions to this rule. But the unfortunate thing, and we know this deep down, and that's part of that fear of judgment, because it's so hard to find the balance in the line where we're happy with ourselves from authenticity, but also we still get the results that we want, but also we don't get the judgment. And judgment goes both ways, right? Either there's so many elements to it. But the reality is like I said, you can build an online following of being totally... You see it all the time, influencers, right? But then I call it the influencer trap. The problem then becomes, if I'm being 100% honest, that if you build a following as a hot mess, right, which happens a lot, and I'm a hot mess, you just don't see it that much on the internet, right? I'm not a hot mess in business, to be fair, but like you should see off camera how much of a mess this room is, right? But
she's lying.
The point.
She showed me the room earlier, and it's not a mess. I just want to say this.
Do you want to see it? No, you can't see it because everything's plugged into precarious.
You're gonna whip your head off with that short lead.
So I will. Trapped. But
she's on a leash for a headphone. I just want to say she's not on a leash, folks.
It's a King's podcast. Change of tone.
There, but just want to say this.
We're really into leashes and public humiliation with the internet. But yeah, and for ADHD, is that in itself creates such a huge sense of overwhelm. It really does. And like navigating online marketing and social media is hard enough as is, and like the emotional dysregulation that comes along, even if you take away all the executive dysfunctioning stuff, the emotional dysregulation that comes along with posting social media content makes it harder for people with ADHD. That's a fact. Like, I'm not like just being like, oh, it's harder for us. It just is. Of course it is. Right? And like, I actually see a lot of benefit in emotional dysregulation as well. But in that one particular area, in that one particular part of that area, it's really challenging because the unfortunate reality, as I said, is the solution is, yeah, sorry, it's shit, but you're going to have to do it. That's literally the whole. Yeah. And like, stop spending money on these gurus who are telling you like, don't worry, I have a way that you. No, I'm sorry, no. Currently, 2024. If you want a business, if you want an online business, you have to post content on social media, and you have to work really hard at it, and you have to get it wrong, and you have to be judged, and it is what it is. But that is it. Like, you have to just do it. I'm sorry, it sucks. I wish I had a different answer for you. Yep. Probably going to lose clients over it because I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, you have to post loads of content. First of all, you're going to be bad at it at first. If you go back to my old content, it sucks. I was terrible.
Skits, comedy skits that I thought, I hid behind.
I remember you did comedy.
Behind funny stuff. I'm funny. Well, I think funny. Thank God the ones I did put out there weren't too bad.
I like them to be. I actually did like them. I just think like.
But exactly what you said about the gurus, I wanted to find a way to show that actually, let's. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's about ridiculizing it. Let's just hear what they're saying, read what they're saying. Don't just instantly. The thing is, quite often our brains will take on board the first thing that we hear or see, and we sort of judge everything else by that. And if that is wrong, then we're scuppered.
Great word.
Okay, well, I'm noticing the time, and I knew that we'd all get carried away. So
yeah, I felt really passionately about that. Well, I do. I think I do. I just think it's so important. Because if I could have one, well, not one wish. If I had one wish, I'd be selfish with my wish probably. But if I only had like one wish for the world of ADHDs, it would be that there was another route to, online marketing that didn't come with 17 different layers of judgment, whether it's internal, external, appearance-based, or, comments or anything like that. But it's just, apart from, the blessed few that managed to, somehow beat that, like, it's just the reality. And it's a bit of a bummer, but there's so many things you can do to make it better and overcome that and view it differently. And it just comes down to mindset and a great therapist.
It's like back taking bit. It's like it's taking risks, right? So I was always the person that was very happy to just take the first risk. I would jump first, right? Only because somebody had to do it, right? And I was like, look, do you know what? I don't need to be the one that solves all the problems. I'll go first, I'll jump, and then you can see what all the problems are and go and fix them for everyone else, and then you can get the credit for creating this amazing way to jump. I'm really not bothered. I'm happy to just jump first for you, right? So that, based on what you've just said, is like, well, you know what? You will see all over the place how many people are out there commenting and posting and, just do it, just do it. The reason everybody is saying that, right, is because it's true. So what I would suggest is that you just say, look, when you go back and look through all the old content, if people are saying it, they're saying it for a reason. We took all the risks. We've done that, and we can tell you that you're still going to have to take risks too. Actually, we can't do a nice perfect jump on this occasion.
Yeah, there's no way around it, and I think no. Also, one thing, if we are going to talk about this, like one thing I think I actually need to say is, like, they're also like manage your expectations of your results. Like, I think that when people see success in business or online or whatever it is, they see the success and they just assume it's like overnight rules quick. Like, I think I've got 37,000 followers on Instagram, which is impressive. It's awesome. It's great. You know, I'm proud of it because I worked really hard for it. For the first 3 months, I was on Instagram. Say that again, sorry?
You only opened your account last week.
Yeah, I've been 3 days ago, I was on 100 followers. Follow me to learn how to do the same.
I'm my course.
Yeah. Get in my funnel. No, also I don't teach that, so this is a joke, everyone. But what I mean is like, for the first 3 months I was on Instagram, I posted a reel and a carousel every single day. And that's a lot of work. Carousels take
people, I mean, liking them. It's like, oh, freaking, there she is again. Like.
Now I only post once a day, but funny enough, next week I'm going back up to 3 times a day, right? Yeah. But the point is even then, and they didn't do well. Like, it took until the very end of the last 3 months was the first time I went viral, and it was the biggest joy and buzz of my life for about 10 minutes. and then it wore off, and then the feelings were gone, which is what happens when you have ADHD. But the point is like, I had to put so much shit content out there just to go viral one time, and I went viral with a post that I wish I'd never posted. So because the post that I posted was about ADHD, not about ADHD in business. What that got me was a bunch of followers that have ADHD but not businesses, right? And yeah, you live and you learn. So it's funny. It's just so funny. Like, there's just so many elements to it. And yeah, you can invest in someone that will fast track you. Like, for example, right? If you invest in me, I will fast track your content. I will grow your following 10 times quicker than you ever will, because I've been doing it for years, right? That's just what happens. That being said, it's still not going to be like a massively quick process unless you're like lucky, or whether we really hit or you have a really particular niche. Like, it's still going to be a slow burner, especially now. It's way more competitive now, but it's going to be a slow burner. And like, I think that especially ADHD is like, we expect, if it's not quick, then we give up, right? And that's part of our, ADHD. We need that quicker reward sense. But I think the problem is our recognition of what that reward looks like. I think people, like, I'm like, what are you aiming for here? Because if you, I don't understand. Because my first or second post, can't remember which way around it was, on Instagram, and I still stand by it, is measuring success by what you learn, not what you earn, right? And to me, if you start on day 1 and you post something and it gets 3 likes, and on day 2 it gets 4 likes, great, fantastic, that's massive, right?
It's an increase, isn't it?
Yeah, even though likes are basically worthless now, but still, like, the point is, like, these because we're such big dreamers, and that is not a bad thing as ADHDs. We are, and it's beautiful, and it's a huge driving force. But the problem is being a big dreamer means we forget to give ourselves credit for the small dreams that make up the big one. And I think that's why we get off course with it. Like, I'm like, you really need to be, like, your mindset around tackling stuff like this, like anything that's the long game with ADHD, the mindset needs to be different. It doesn't need to be end game. It needs to be, okay, it's almost like a contract you make with yourself, where you're like, okay, when will I let myself be proud of myself? And set that in advance. Set it in advance, right? Because if you do it as you go, it doesn't work.
No, it's just exactly that. It's like asking yourself, how will I know I've achieved what I want to achieve? What measures of what am I got in place to measure, to know?
And I don't mean even setting it as a goal. I just mean no,
not as a goal. Within ourselves, how do we know when we're going to be happy with that? What will make us happy? Is it because we've made this? If we're going to spend 6 hours making something look perfect just to post, it's like, oh, right, okay, well, we're going to need to revisit that, because actually that's not the best use of our time. It doesn't matter how much we needed that. It really, really isn't. So
exactly, and this is the thing that it comes down to, is like, the funny thing about when you do that exercise, like in the future, when would I let myself be proud of myself, is you'll just find like how savage you are on yourself when you're like, no, it's really interesting exercise to do, especially if you're like early days in in your like business, career, profession, growth, scale, whatever you want to call it. Because you'll be like, oh, I am really harsh on myself. And I'm the same. I'm my own worst enemy, and I still am to this day. And in some ways it's good because it's what keeps me winning, to be honest.
Well,
but there needs to be balance.
You have to learn to tap into what it is that drives you. I know that anybody does, but ADHD or not, you have to learn how to tap in to what drives you and motivates you, and because that is what's going to keep you going. I struggle to future pace, to connect to myself in the future. Yeah, I've got goals. When I was younger, I wanted to be whatever, and you can see things, but it just sort of blurs out of existence in my mind, because it's like, well, I can't sit and go, right, well, yes, I can reverse engineer. What do I need to do? Right.
I hate that.
As soon as I do that, right, I get to step 2 or step 3, and I'm like, oh, actually, I've changed my mind. I think I found a better way. And it completely throws out everything that I might have had up there. So I'm like, well, why don't I just try this, see what happens? And then the thing is, you can have a goal, you can have a plan, you can do whatever, right? And a lot of people, they say, right, what are you going to do if it doesn't work? People like to have a plan B, right? And I don't believe anybody should have a plan B. And I really don't. I think whatever you plan, if you're going to go on a route, literally in a car, you're going to go, okay, well, plan A is to go this way and plan B is to do that. I think it makes plan A, when you can't execute it or you can't do it, it makes it feel like you failed at plan A, and now you've got to do plan B. And to me, it has a negative connotation to it. So I just say, this is the plan, right? If it doesn't work, right, this is what we're going to do instead.
I don't have it. I don't have plan B. No. But no. I want to actually. So I hate this idea of future self. I hate it, just like what you just said. And the reason I hate it is because it suggests that we need to change who we are to get the things that we want. And I don't agree with that. Actually, in my experience, we need to become more of who we are to get the things that we want.
Ooh, I like
right.
That.
Well, because it's true. And like this future self suggests like, oh, there's this version of myself exists that if I could just change this, and this, then, I would have abundance and all the things that I want. Like, no, it's not the case. Like, you get more of what you want when you become more of who you are, right? So
are we allowing ourselves that? Are we allowing ourselves to do that? What is holding us back? Are we getting stuck in core values? There's
1,000 voices of other people that stop that. It's never anything to do with us. And I know because I've been through it. Honestly, if I could tell you where my self-worth was at 3 years ago, it's so funny. I thought I was, the most confident, like, extroverted person in the world. And to the world, I very much probably looked that way and had just zero self-worth whatsoever. And I didn't even know it, right? And, through so much extremely challenging, extremely painful, like, inner work. Because, like, when I say I've done the work on myself, like, I can say that with pride. Like, it has been so fucking terrible, but it's done. Well, it's not done, it's ever going, but, we're in it now. But the point is like, if I had created a future version of myself when I was in that stage, it wouldn't have even been something I would have wanted, right? It wouldn't have aligned because I wasn't actually me then, right? Sounds like super hippy dippy, but I wasn't the truest version of myself.
You've hit on it there. You know what I mean? Because if you do that, then you're not really, and you have this, I can't see room for evolving and growing. To me, you have to, it's not just about growing and expand, business or otherwise. It's about evolving. Evolving to me is, it means improving, becoming better than, in a way that fits with who you are and what you're doing. That is evolving.
Exactly. And it's like, in the version of future self, let's say, okay, like, who am I in my future self? I'm somebody who shows up with complete confidence and is great at public speaking. That's cool, right? Love that for you. Great. Except, here's the problem. When you get on stage, you're just pretending to be confident and you're just pretending to be great at public speaking to align with this narrative of I'm becoming my future self, which means that you're skipping the actual work of saying, why am I not that person? Like, because deep down, I feel that I am. Because if you want it for that, if you want it for your future, it is something that you are, right? It's something that's within you. And it's a skill, sure. But the disconnect is not in the skill set. The disconnect is something inside of you, right? So public speaking and confidence, for example. And I'm terrified of public speaking still. I'm speaking in front of 1,000 people in a few months. And I'm absolutely shitting myself, right? but I'm gonna nail it because I'm doing all the inner work. I'm not sitting here in my head going, well, I'm gonna do a great job because my future self can confidently speak to 1,000 people. No, I'm like, I'm terrified. Why is that? What do I need to do to become more of me? Because I, as a human person, I'm great at speaking to 1,000 people in principle. So where's the disconnect? It's not in a wishy-washy dream of who I want to be. It's in something that is deep inside that holds me back from that. And you need to start with the root. You can't skip the root. People try and skip the root. They across the board, content, skipping the root, skipping the foundations, self-healing, skipping the foundations. Like, it's work. You have to do so much work. I'm sorry. I wish there was a better way. But it sucks at first. Almost everything that is worthwhile is shit at first. Like, that's just a fact. And painting a picture of who you want to be, you know, as a benchmark, and then pretending that you are that person in order to become that person, it's never going to work. It's just
no, and it's okay for it not to work and to change your mind, because there's one thing I don't like it when I don't win. I don't like it when right? But saying that, at the same time, I am not afraid of failure, because I'm not afraid to quit, because I'm just not, because I know that if I don't try something, you can't just do it straight away. I know how long it takes to learn something, to do something. So, you know, it's obvious that I think, oh yeah, I can learn really quickly. I can pick up things very, very quickly. But it doesn't mean to say I can become expert on it. It doesn't mean to say I can become the authority on it. And that is where the difference is. You know, and recognizing now it's time to quit. Actually, it's okay to quit, because I'm actually putting my energy in the wrong place. This is not actually aligned with me and who I am. I've explored it, I've learned more, and now it's time to shift it. And not everybody thinks like that. Not everybody thinks like, you know, don't quit, don't give in, or, you know, keep going. You just got to keep at it. Yes, to a certain extent, but there's no point keeping at something just for the sake of it, because what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, there isn't. There's no point. I think there's just, there's so many toxic viewpoints online for ADHDers. That's so shame-inducing, that like narrative of like, you know, the only way you can fail is if you quit. It's actually not true, by the way. Businesses fail all the time.
Yeah.
But like, obviously that's on a deeper level of like, if you quit trying new businesses. But just for the record, that's what that is saying. It's saying like, okay, like that one was wrong. So try something else. But the point, like, there should really be more clear in these 7-second videos. But you're not giving us enough. But I think the really important takeaway with anything like that is that, like, if you are okay, I can only like, business is my area, so I can only ever really talk about stuff like this from perspective of business. But like, if you launch something and there's no demand for it, and by the way, test that there's a demand for it, not like, oh, I launched my course and I posted about it twice and no one bought it, so there's no demand. I'm like, no, post it for 3 months about it every day. So there's no get out of jail free card there. But let's say you've done all that and the market doesn't demand it, do something else. Like, don't prove to yourself that you have to prove it first. That's the caveat here. But like, after that's done, that's terrible. It's terrible advice, you know. And everyone, by the way, has launched shit stuff. I've launched bad programs. I've launched a program that sold to 2 people, and it was a nightmare because it was a group program, so I was in it, and it was a nightmare because I had to still do it, and I hated it. And you'll do that too, because we all do it, because that's just how the world is in terms of that. But like, at the end of the day, if you want to build something to like a multi-6-figure or a 7-figure business and no one's buying it, yeah, it's really simple. It's really weird.
I mean, I think I was a little bit lucky there, because I never actually sold anything. I never actually made anything or built anything without selling it first.
I sold it first, but I'd sold it to 2 people, and then that was that.
And so you could follow that advice too. And I was going to say is that, you know, I've tried to do that, but, you know, that too could still backfire. Just be careful. But, you know, we live and we learn. And
basically, there's a million ways that it could go wrong, and it will.
Yeah. And just bear that in mind, folks. You know what I mean? Because it all brings it round to, you know, so we've been chatting away for quite some time. We've covered everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You can cut out all the bit where I wasn't funny or charming or intelligent.
Bloody hell, what would the pair of us do? There were about 3 minutes between us.
Welcome to the podcast. Okay, thanks for listening.
Yeah. I love it when people make those posts, what's your best asset? I've started putting this. Oh, my humbleness, especially when I brag about my awesomeness.
Can we actually not talk? If we go into humbleness, I'm going to talk your absolute ear off as well. So we need to just put an end onto this episode because I have so many thoughts on being humble.
Right. Watch this space, folks. You heard it here.
Part 2, I'm excited.
Everyone to do a part 2. Ultimately, because I always like to have this music link to somewhere, right? And ultimately, we want to be in the position where we are getting up every day, looking forward to our business, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that includes Mondays, right? Because most people don't like Mondays, yeah? So, Ari, tell me why you do like Mondays.
Because even my worst day in my business is better than my best day when I've been having a job, without fail. Even when even the times when I've been like, oh, like back when I'm like, oh, can I eat actual food this week? Like, who knows? Or any of that stuff. And it's been the most terrifying when I haven't been adjusted to the roller coaster of income that is a service-based business. Like any time like that, still, I would never rather be at work. I would never rather be working. I hate having a job. I hate it. Right. So for me, that's it. It's what it comes down to. I will happily get up at 6 o'clock on a Monday and build my business because I love it. I absolutely love it. Even when I hate it, because I do hate it, not maniac. There's days where I hate it, but I never hate it as much as I hated having a job. So it's simple for me. It's so clear in my mind. I'm like, could suffer through this and all the stress and the anxiety that comes with running a business. Because there is some, again, don't believe the gurus, running a business is really, really hard. Especially when you have ADHD and the tax office calls you and says things that you don't understand, because that happens to all of us. If you don't do this, you owe us $15,000. I'm like, do what? I don't get it. Real life example. Anyway, so even on those days, even when I'm the most anxious, the most stressed, I've got angry people coming at me, I've got no money, whatever that, through the whole time I've been in this, I'd still would choose those days over the best days in a job. And by the way, if you don't feel that way, you shouldn't be in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so if you don't like Mondays, basically you're going to have to learn how to like Mondays.
Just don't do
not
it.
Not Monday, the song. Let me just clear this out. There's a big difference between the Mondays and the Boondown Rats. I just want to make that clear, folks.
You only get that. You only get that joke if you're over 30, which I am. Do you have to clear up some stuff online?
Fear of being judged. I'll tell you one of my fear of being judged, just to end with, is, you could tell me yours as well. My fear of being really judged is that I have bad musical taste, because I don't.
Do you have yeah. I mean, I get that one. What's my biggest fear of judgment? It's so hard. There's just so many to choose from. What's my biggest fear? Actually, I know it. You know what? It's because I know what it is. My biggest fear of judgment is being seen to be incompetent in what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Which is funny because that means if you invest in me, that's just proof that it's a really good decision. Because my biggest worry is that you think I'm not competent enough to do what I'm telling you I've got to do, which means I'm going to fucking do it. But that is, I fear that. I fear that being seen as incompetent. That is my fear of judgment.
I think, and you've said it, that's my second biggest fear.
Behind the bad music taste.
I don't have bad music taste. I thought we just established that.
Well, I don't know.
Ari, it's been amazing. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We're going to have to quickly just stop. Ready, steady, go. Stop. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Behind the Strategy. I hope you enjoy listening to the next one. Please subscribe so you get notified of when that's published. And if you'd like to find out more, please pop over to thestrategysuccesslab.com. And please do share this with anyone who you think might need this today.